Did you know that many nurse practitioner students in the United States have to find their own preceptors? It can be very struggling and difficult to find preceptors on their own, but it's more important to know things they can do to find great preceptors so they can learn as much as they can during nurse practitioner schools. In this episode, I'm going to share 5 methods, 5 things they can do to increase the chance of finding amazing preceptors so you can get trained to become a nurse practitioner better. Let's dive in. Hey, before we're gonna get into today's topic, I just want to mention that we are giving out free online lesson. It's about time management. We all are very busy every day, but we want to make sure that we have time to take care of ourselves. Because when we are too stressed out, then we can't really take care of other people, patients, or even our loved ones. So it's very important to take care of ourselves, but I think the problem is we don't have time. But in this lesson, I'm going to talk about 7 secrets to make time for things you love so you can rejuvenate and be a better person, better nurse practitioner, better healthcare professional. How to access this online lesson is you can go to usa.jnpproject.com/free lesson. Again, usa.jnpproject.com/free lesson, and you can get access to this free lesson. All right, let's get back to today's topic. Okay, so today's topic is how to find not just random preceptors, but how to find great preceptors for nurse practitioner students. Like I said in the beginning, many nurse practitioner programs have students to find their own preceptors. And this trend has becoming more and more common, unfortunately. I attended a national conference for American Associations of Nurse Practitioners in June, and I talked to different nurse practitioners from different states, and unfortunately, it is confirmed that many nurse practitioner programs, task students to find their own preceptors. And it's more this practice is more common among for online nurse practitioner programs. Finding own preceptors can be especially difficult for international students because they didn't grow up in the United States, so they may not have connections to find preceptors compared to those who grew up in the community, whose uncle is a physician or nurse practitioner, or who know a family who know a nurse practitioner in the community. So it's very important to know 5 things that you can do to increase the chance of finding great preceptors. So we're going to talk about that. For me, luckily back then, my program helped me to find preceptors. And, I had some preceptors were better than the other preceptors. I had amazing preceptors. And then there are some one preceptor who wasn't the best teacher, I have to say. And unfortunately, that was she was a nurse practitioner, and I was a little bit disappointed. But so finding not just a preceptor, but finding a great preceptor or great preceptors is very important. And I know that for firsthand, because how much you can learn from the semester really depend on, who you're going to work with. If the preceptors are willing to teach you and they're actually great clinician themselves, then you learn a lot. But if you do clinical with the preceptors who's not willing to teach you, who's not interested in teaching you, and then they are not the greatest clinician, then you may not learn as much. So you want to make sure that you have great preceptors so you can learn as much as you can before you graduate and become a nurse practitioner. I didn't have difficulty of finding preceptor on my own, but also I did 2 extra unofficial clinical rotations with 2 different preceptors, because one is through my employment. I mean, it wasn't like really through employer, but I know an OB/GYN physician, and I asked him, I know him because he worked at the same clinic, and I asked him, do you mind if I do clinical and if I shadow you, and if I do clinical, unofficial clinical with you, because I wanted to have as many experiences before I graduate from the program. And he said yes, so that was super helpful. I also had another unofficial clinical training with a pediatrician who I had an official clinical rotation, and he was a really great preceptor, and I asked him, would you mind if I do another rotation with you, because I learned so much, I want to continue to learn more. And then he said yes, and it was so wonderful. So I think there are so many, and now I'm the opposite side. I actually teach students, and I know there are so many things you can do to increase the chance of great preceptors. So first thing you can do is you can ask your you can ask your friends, but you can ask students who are ahead in the same nurse practitioner program, who were their preceptors, and if they like the preceptors, and if they had a great clinical rotation with the preceptor, you may want to get information about that. You may want to ask them if they can introduce you to that preceptor and see if you can do the clinical rotation under the preceptor, because that word of mouth or reputation tells you a lot. And even if your nurse practitioner program helped you find preceptor, you might have great preceptor, you might have not so great preceptor. You have a little control if you just let the nurse practitioner program decide. So even if they're gonna help you, if you can find your own preceptor, likelihood is they will say, if you have your own preceptor, yeah, sure, you can do the clinical rotation as long as they can do the paperwork or and things like that. So even if your nurse practitioner program prepare preceptorship for you, it doesn't mean that you cannot arrange preceptorship on your own. And if the preceptor have good reputation, that's a good reassurance that you're gonna have great experience as well. So that's one good way to find who are great preceptors, or actually hear from students who have clinical rotation with the preceptor. How is she, how is he, what did you learn, or what did you like about the preceptor and stuff like that. And then if you hear those reputations, that would be very helpful. I know my student refer another student about me and those, and if I really like the student, and if another student contact me, say, hey, my friend so and so told me that she had a great experience with you, I'm very interested in doing a clinical rotation, I probably would be will be more willing to take that student than just the school is, just a random person asking me to become their preceptor, because I know the student was wonderful, and the student refer. So I feel more comfortable to take on another student that is a friend of the student that I have. So that might be a great approach to find great preceptors. Second thing is to become a ANP student member. So ANP stands for American Association of Nurse Practitioners. I'm a member, and to become a student member, it's $55, which is much cheaper than regular member, which is like me, practicing nurse practitioners. And you can get information about, the nurse practitioner conferences, and also you can get discounts to attend those conferences. And during the conference, you can make so many connections with nurse practitioners from all over the United States. Also, you can get, connect with nurse practitioner students from different states. So that would be wonderful. If you are going to nurse practitioner, the online nurse practitioner program, this is probably great, because if you're willing to go to different states to do the clinical rotation, this is the fastest way to build connection with different nurse practitioners. So I will highly recommend to attend the ANP conference. But if you become a student member, you can get discount to attend those conferences. Also, there are so many helpful information that you can get from the website. You can also get some help with scholarship for nurse practitioner programs if you become an ANP student member. And you can also get discounts on certification exams. So I think it's worth it to become a student member. I was a student member, and then I got the discount to get this to take the certification exam. So I think it was worth the money. And I will highly recommend to build some connections, and it's going to be helpful to find great preceptors, but also to find employment after you graduate. And also the second thing is attend local conferences. This is especially, I live in Hawaii, and Hawaii is, as you know, very isolated from other states. So, I think building connection within the community is very important, unless you are willing to go to different states to do clinical rotations. But it will be hard for students in Hawaii, because then you have to pay for flights and hotels and stuff like that. So, how to make connection, in other than attending the ANP national conference, is attending local conferences. So you can get to know, different people within the community, working in different settings. So if you're thinking of going to women's health, maybe go to women's health conference in Hawaii, and you can get to know OBGYNs or nurse practitioners in women's health, or nurses in women's health and stuff like that. You might get to know different people who are willing to become your preceptors, or you may get to know people who know nurse practitioners or physicians who are willing to become your preceptors. So make connections are very important. Also, you can, because you're going to be able to meet face to face, by talking to them, how they look like, if they're willing to teach, or if they are approachable. You can see if there's a good chemistry between you, just as professionally, or and then also from the preceptor side, the preceptors can see how enthusiastic students are, and they might be more willing to take you if they know how you look like, how you act. rather than just, get a random phone call or email saying, hi, I'm looking for a preceptor. So making connection is very important. And how to do that is to attend those local conferences. In fact, I attended the one of the conference for nursing leader when I was a nurse practitioner student before, and I actually got to know one person who wasn't a nurse practitioner, who was a nurse, but who wasn't a nurse practitioner. But she, I was talking about, how much I want to become a nurse practitioner in the United States. And then she connected me to a person who is from Japan, who was a nurse. She became a biostatistician. So she's a nurse practitioner. But she got her green card on her own through employment. And although it wasn't, helpful to find a nurse practitioner preceptor, but she was very helpful for me to get some tips about how to get green card through employment as a professional. And then she helped me to connect it with people from different hospitals and stuff. So I was able to expand my connections, and I still a friend with her. So who knows, you might not meet nurse practitioner, but you're going to meet people in the industry. And that's the start to build connections. And again, for international students, we don't have a long history in the community. So you have to be actively engaged to build connection within the community. And one thing to do that is going to those conferences. And you have to pay a little bit of money to attend, but usually they offer student discounts, and you can build connections to find preceptors, but also might be helpful to find employer, find a job after you graduate from nurse practitioner program. So I think it's very important and then helpful. Also, of course, you are attending conferences, so you learn a lot from, lectures and stuff like that. So I think attending, local conferences are a great way to make connections and then worth the money. Another thing you can do is join local nursing association. Like if you are in Hawaii or if you're thinking of coming to Hawaii and become a nurse practitioner, you can join Hawaii Association of Professional Nurses. This group is not limited to nurse practitioners, but this is for nursing professionals in Hawaii. And they help you to find preceptors. Also, they have some gathering and meetings and stuff like that. You can attend those meetings and make connections. And then let's say, if you are specifically thinking of becoming a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners, maybe attend those meetings, and you may get to know psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners. In fact, the current president is of the association is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner who is my friend and also helped me with the boot camp that program that our project offer, and make connection with him, and possibly he can become your preceptor. You can also tell him how you are, how enthusiastic you are, and maybe he can help you to connect with other psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners as well. So making connection, again, is very, very, very important to find great preceptors. And how you know that is first, make connections, and then, ask around if anybody is willing to, but also you can see with your own eyes how they talk, how they approach to students, how enthusiastic they are to teach, and then you can choose he seems like he's very good teacher. I would like to study under him, and then you can ask him. Also, again, from preceptor side, they can see how you are, how enthusiastic you are as a student, and they might be more willing to take you because they know that you're going to work hard. And, as a nurse practitioner, everybody is so busy, and teaching student can slow us down. But we still are many of us are still willing to teach, but sometimes it could be a very disappointing if students are not as enthusiastic as they can be, and it seems like it's kind of waste our time to teach those students. But showing up and show how enthusiastic you are as a student, that can convince them to take you as a preceptee. So joining local nursing association and attending those meetings and conferences or gathering would be a great way to connect with potential preceptors. Last thing is you can use, you can ask around at the employer or workplace that you work at. Like I said, I did unofficial clinical rotation with a physician who was working at the same clinic, and that was super helpful. So you can use your connection. But when I was in a nurse practitioner program, the school asked me if I want to do clinical rotation at my workplace, and I told them no. Besides from my unofficial, that was a bonus, but I didn't want it to pay my tuition, but do the clinical at my workplace because I already have that connection, so basically I paid tuition, but school didn't have to help me, with anything. But I said no, because I already have this connection. So I wanted to make the tuition worth it. So I said no, but can you set up, can you find preceptor so I can expand connection somewhere else, because I already had this connection. I didn't need help from the school. So you could ask around at your workplace if anybody's willing to teach you, but there's some limitation with that because you already have that connection through work. But if it's easy, but at the same time your connections just stay the same. You want to make sure you expand your connection as much as possible, not just to have a preceptorship, but also to find a job after you graduate. So always think ahead, because after you graduate, you have to find a job, especially if you're an international student. You have to find a job right away so you can apply for work visa or green card. So think about that. And I would recommend to look for other options, like make other connections so you can have more opportunities in the future. In the future video, I'm thinking of going over how to ask nurse practitioners, physicians to become your preceptor. So make sure to subscribe so you can get notification when that video is out. Anyway, this episode, that's it for this episode. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode. Aloha.